What's up, fellas? We are live. Let's talk about this. All right, so I'll put my banner up there, which is the PayPal we have. We don't have Cash App down here. Not a big deal. Not a big deal because it is what it is. All right, start. Y'all saw the thumbnail, and you know what I'm about to say. If you do, I'm glad. You're going to need to pass this message on to other people. If you don't, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, okay, we have this little old men's movement called the Passport Bros. And we're dudes that have had enough, and we have physically, mentally, and sexually checked the fuck out of the United States as far as looking for or thinking about having a girlfriend, a fiance, or a wife. Complete waste of time. It's not worth it. You know it's a bad investment when we can almost relate it perfectly with the house in a casino. So the house in a casino, depending upon the game, wins 60 to 80% of the time. And if you play blackjack and you know how to count cards and you know basic strategy, you can get more than 50% advantage over the house. But unfortunately, with the US, nothing is in our favor. We're fucked. We are not cared for. They don't want us. They made it clear, leave us alone. And so we are doing just that. We're leaving them alone. What do you think about that? If people tell you to leave them alone long enough, eventually you do. Now, my story might be different because I wasn't running away from anything. I was already overseas with the military. We got some action outside tonight. Haven't seen any thieves yet, but it's only midnight. So, I can only give you my own personal stories when it comes to why I moved overseas and why other people are doing it too. Because it is a very good time right now in the world to be a man. It hasn't been good as of what, 10 years now? But now we have this opportunity to get the fuck out. Some of you guys have never worked remote in your life until COVID, and I even predicted it. I talked to the comptroller, which is the person in charge of all the money in the country for the electricity system. The the CFE is the the power company here in Mexico, and she was old school. She was older than me. Boy, she was awesome. But she wanted to she wanted to go to the States, which Passport Bros, no, we don't bring them back because it'll ruin them. They're fucking ruined if they go there. So why would you want to leave? Well, I'm gonna refer you to something that was written a long time ago by Plato. I read this earlier in another podcast. It was basically one of my boys, Carlos, was getting dragged in a pot in a live stream that had nothing to do with Passport Bros, had nothing to do with travel. It was about indigenous people. Anyway, but he got dragged in that conversation because, hang on a second. Hey, what's that? What's up, Uncle Jackie? Let me jump back to what I'm saying. Carlos was in a podcast the other night, a live stream, and Carlos is a popular passport bro that's in Medellin, Colombia, and he's with Pablo Frescobar. And we're chatting it up, and he said that because something in his, and I think this was on TikTok or something, TikTok Live, but in his name, it said something about passport, like Passport Kings or something like that. And one of the ladies on the panel like dove on him. You hate black women, you hate women, you're a misogynist and all this stuff because of what's in his name. So the story of Plato, the Plato's cave, which is called, I can't remember, but it's from Plato's book. It's a very short story about men that are chained up in a prison. And their entire time they're in prison, there is a fire and then there is a wall. And the people on the outside are holding up objects like a bird or something like that. And they were seeing the images as they see them. And then one of the prisoners escapes, goes out into the real world and goes, oh, wow, none of the stuff that we thought was real. And the world's actually pretty nice. And he goes back down into the prison to set the guys free. And they're like, oh, no, we're not falling for that. We don't believe you. We're better here inside this prison where we have fake stuff on the wall, like a shadow theater. That is what plantation bros do to passport bros. They can't leave out of envy or money or whatever reason they can't get their passport. And they're going to criticize us because we're doing better than them. No, you guys know I've been overseas since 1994. Yeah. And I was with the military. Most of the people that were in the military, they wanted to do their time in the military and get out. I was a lifer. All I wanted to do was go to the next assignment, the next TDY. And that was my life, because I would go from place to place to place. So when I'm retired, I'm already overseas and I already know how to live overseas. Just got to learn the language, get yourself set up with a good family, stay in a nice neighborhood, and live the dream. It's pretty simple. Now, what they assume about us is that because of what they see in themselves, you're holding a mirror up to their face. That's why they're so mad. They're like, well, third world countries these girls are poor, they're uneducated, they're easy to manipulate. It's like, where are you getting all this information from? Like saying that all the women down here are prostitutes. And I'm sure she would be real fucking thrilled if I told her that that's what women in the States are calling women overseas. So, and about them being poor. Yeah, plenty of them are poor. The one that's in here, not poor. The one that's in here, her family owns a forklift factory. And I don't know if you guys ever priced a forklift, they ain't cheap. So as far as being poor, eliminated. Second, being prostitutes. There are more prostitutes in the United States than there are anywhere else. Facts. And what they're doing is they're assuming the worst about these other countries so they can make themselves feel better, because we all know that all that trash fire up there is a mess. And when dudes come down here and they meet a nice girl that isn't trying to fleece them for money, isn't trying to lie to them, and you know what I mean? It's very different than the perception. And just like in Plato's cave, once the guy escaped, he went back into the prison to set them free. Just like when we go overseas, we go, dudes, you have no idea. The chicks are nice. They're not rude. They're fun to be with. They have a good time. They're very affectionate. No, that's impossible. No one's going to treat us like that because we're prisoners, remember? Or the other part of the theory is that the guy that goes back into prison hates the guys that are there, hate the guy who escaped, because now they're like very suspicious about what they've seen their entire life has been a shadow on the wall of whatever the people were that were, doing this little shadow theater with them. And they have been stuck inside that prison for the rest of their life. Because that's the mentality of plantation bros. They don't want us to leave because they know we're going to be doing better than them. The economy's better. The women are more beautiful. They're not fat. They're sweet. They're very affectionate. And they have your best interests at heart because they really want to make it work with you. As with the States, it's all conditional. It's all transactional. And it's straight up prostitution. So the very idea of being criticized for what they do, follow me? They're criticizing an invisible fantasy that they make up in their head about all of us, because there's a few people that are mongers. There's a big difference between a passport bro, which is an expat, and a sex tourist, which is a monger. So there's terminology for this. And when we leave, all the ones, all the hoes, all the bitches, all the fucking girls that were trying to put us in a friend zone, that were leaving us on red in the DMs, now they're like, wait a minute. I hear you're doing good. See, I had an ex that had always dated wealthy men. And at the time, I wasn't wealthy. I didn't have shit. But it wasn't long after that girl left my life that one of my boys talked to her and said, oh, you didn't hear? Yeah, Professor's doing good. She's like, really? Yeah, he's living in Colombia. He's got a fucking mansion down there. He's got like a whole staff of people in his house. He adopted 2 kids. Yeah, he's doing good. His wife is beautiful. She has like the most perfect everything. And she was like, well, I'm sure that, that blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So they go for the assumption that it's the worst when it's actually the best. Because that woman wasn't 1/100th of the woman I got in here. And she's not as in good a shape. She's much older. But you know what the difference is? That fucking girl broke up with me for money. Out of money. For money, you guys. Fucking money. So it was all transactional. My boy told me after the fact, he's like, yeah, dude, she was messing around with a younger guy. He was like 20-something years old. He plays Xbox all the time. She messed around on you with him. And that's why she split up with you, because she wanted to get run through by Chad and Tyrone. Basically it. Now she's gone on to, she went with me. She went with that guy who was a DJ or some shit, to another guy who's another DJ and this club scene shit. And I guess I don't know, been together ever since. But good for him. Good for her. Because to me, she was not marriage material, not relationship material. Because all she thought about was money. And then her last sentence to me, yeah, fuck you, you broke motherfucker. Fuck him. I'm like, hypergamy. Because they branch up to the guy who has more stuff or more status. But I played her. Because I was testing her to see that if she saw that I had some kind of a financial thing, I wanted to see what her reaction was. Because the test of a man is when he has nothing. And the test of a woman is when that man has everything. How you like them? Apples. Because they don't give a shit. They'll walk away from you for the most trivial reasons. You could trick them and figure out why it is that they are the way they are. Hypergamous in nature. That's why everything is transactional. 80%, 70%. They all break up with us. which is why I'm finding this absolutely hilarious. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So what do you got to do next? I would tell everybody that even if you're not planning on going overseas or living or anything, get your passport just in case. I'm saying, just in case. And fortunately or unfortunately, when you get to where you're going and the fucking world collapses and goes to hell, you need to have your fucking roots thrown down somewhere. Can't do it in the States anymore. That place is gonna get destroyed. I know. It sucks. Hell, I even told my daughter, I was like, option A, come down here to Mexico. We're gonna go to El Salvador, and then we're gonna go to Nicaragua. And then she got combative with me. I was like, oh, really? Okay, well, when the world collapses there, just remember I gave you that option. Hearted the message and never wrote me back. That's what I'm saying, guys. Even our own kids. Even our own kids. But they have a good reason because third world countries, prostitution is legal and it's pretty common. But I think that's weird that they directly default to that. They don't talk about, well, if, let's just say this, if, you guys hear that? I'm telling you, the weirdest, Mexico has the weirdest fucking noises at night. Like big, loud bangs and weird noises. It's nuts. So what do? You get your passport. Second thing you do, if you're a veteran, then you connect with other veterans. If you're not, not a big deal. Decide the life that you want to live in advance. Do you want to live in the country? Do you want to live on a farm? Do you want to live in the city? Because all these countries have very nice areas, and you'll only want to stay in the nicest areas. It's not that expensive, and it'll definitely help you run the clock out. So pay off your shit, level up your game, start telling the truth. Because when you come to Latin America, that whole lying to girls thing don't fly down here, and you don't need to lie to them. If you're honest with them, they fuck your brains out and they make you their husband. If you lie to them, you're just gonna be another typical lying ass American tourist. That's what works. They're not impressed by you. They're not impressed with your money. They're not impressed with shit. The stuff that we worship, which is money and status, is irrelevant to them. They don't admire money. They don't like admire wealth like that. If you're fortunate enough to have been born into a family that has money, good for you. If you haven't, you got to struggle with the rest of us. It's easier for women because they can go, like, for example, I went to a meeting last week, and one of the students is a student of the law. And I asked her, I said, well, what's your intention and how long do you have left in school? She goes, I'm in my first year. I'm going to finish this, and this. And then I'm hoping by the end of college, then I'll go get married and have babies. It's like the same story. They tell these girls the same like bullshit story, a dream story that they should go to college before they get into a relationship and have children. You know what I mean? They have fed them this lie that it's somehow fulfilling. It's somehow fulfilling to work a job for somebody else. So their intentions are position himself, get a fake degree, and actually marry a lawyer. That's what they do. They only become nurses so they can marry a doctor. They don't do it because they intend on being a nurse for 20 years. They have other plans. They only take jobs where they can position themselves just right as to be seen by a wealthier older man. And I'm talking about Mexico, I'm talking about Colombia, I'm talking about Panama. All of them are the same. What ends up happening is, especially in Latin America, is their parents will buy them boobs so that they will be able to marry a rich man. Can you imagine that? Buying your daughter breast implants in high school so that when she gets out of high school, she can marry a rich guy? I don't know, man. That sounds like they're pimping their kids out. I don't like that. But it is what it is. And if you need to, listen, go now and apply for your passport. What is $180? I would get the 52 pager. The reason why is if you decide to go, to Europe, or if you come down here and you want to take a bus to one of the many countries that are close by, they're gonna stamp your passport when you enter, and they're gonna stamp your passport when you leave. So every single country you go to, you're gonna be running out of pages, stamp pages you need. So get 52 pages in your new passport, and always hang on to your old ones. Always, always. You need them as a second ID. They're gonna punch a hole in it if you need to renew it, and you'll get your new one. So definitely get the 52 pager. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this specific one is because there's quite a lot of talk about Japan. There's an estimation that by the year 2030, that's about 6-7 years from now, there will be 42 million abandoned homes in Japan. And Italy's doing it. Switzerland is doing it. I've always known Spain to do it, but I'm not a fan. That's not true. Sevilla is really cheap, good food, nice girls, pretty town. You can buy a house there for €3, but you have to put 5,000 euros down into an escrow account, and it'll actually be an auction. So if you win the auction, you might pick up a house for fucking $100. And these are old world houses that are completely made out of stone. They may not have a roof. They may not have windows. You know what I mean? It may have pigeons living in it, but it's a $3 house. So also, they're offering money for people to relocate. I've been offered a position as a scientist to work for the president of El Salvador. And I'm like, I will go, but I'm not going to work for anybody. I don't believe any politicians. They're all liars and thieves. I don't give a fuck who they are, but I do like that president because he's a very approachable person. I was actually this close talking to him on the phone about 2 years ago. And the lady that I talked to was like, "Would you like to talk to the president?" And I was like, "No, it's not necessary," because I thought she was lying. It turns out she was in his cabinet. I'm like, fuck. So anyway, I wrote President Bukele this morning, just on a whim, to let him know that I wouldn't mind going there, being an advisor of some sort. I don't want him to pay me. That's an insult, actually. I don't want him to pay me. Give me a free house. We don't pay taxes. And any equipment I need to make stuff for experiments, just give them to us. Also, give us about 20 acres of land, and the rest we'll handle it. Dude, everything would be 20 grand. So, what do you guys think of this? You got options. Now they're willing to pay you to leave the country. They're willing to pay you to live in Japan. I think it's like 80 grand or 90 grand, dude. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Where was the fucking deals at when I was literally starving, trying to pay child support off so I could renew my passport so I could go overseas forever? That's what I was doing. Well, anyway, I really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I gotta run and go find out who's barking outside so I can, keep an eye on shit. Well, tomorrow we're gonna be hitting the gym at 10 a.m. So you know what's up. Appreciate you listening tonight. I'm the professor. Get your passport, guys. It's really bad. And I'm out.